Just before midnight, a young man slips down a suburban street, heading home. Jerry Irwin is 17 years old and getting in late from a date. Once inside the house, he is surprised to find his parents still awake and concerned, not about Jerry, but his half-sister, 16-year-old Carol.
I knew when Carol didn't come home. In a couple of hours, like she said, I'll be back. I won't be gone long. I knew that something was wrong.
She never, not that I can really remember, ever got in trouble for not coming home or calling in when she was not going to be there when she was supposed to be.
Carol Hutto's 10 p.m. curfew has come and gone without a call. Now Norma Hutto and Jerry head out into the night, seeking out Carol's friends, asking questions at the local teen hangouts. No one, however, has seen Carol. Her mom returns home and calls police.
She said, there's nothing we can do. Girls run away all the time. I tried to tell her that Carol didn't run away. She had nothing to run away from. She was happy. She didn't have any problems.
Morning comes, with still no word from Carol. Jerry Irwin again walks the neighborhood, asking questions and getting nowhere. Jerry eventually wanders to the end of his street, to a house under construction, and a small lake set behind it.
And I just kind of glanced out at the lake, and I saw some clothes and a raincoat, and I believe one shoe. It was over in this area right here. They were just floating in the water. So I turned and I started looking closer, and I looked down, and that's when I saw her face down in the water with cement blocks on top of her.
Carol Hutto lies dead in the shallows. Jerry Irwin stumbles away and back into his house, where his parents ask him what's wrong.
How do you tell your parents that their baby daughter is in the lake face down? You just can't do it.
And I said, Jerry, what's wrong? And he just stared. And I got a hold of him and I said, Jerry, what's wrong? And he said, we gotta go, Daddy, we gotta get her.
Irwin leads his stepfather back to the lake. The two also call the Largo police.
We went down there and I showed the officer.
Carol Hutto's body is removed from the water, and police begin to investigate. Forensic work on the body begins. The coroner determines Carol Hutto was strangled, causing her most likely to pass out, but not killing her. She also suffered a large burn on her thigh, and according to the ME's report, went into the water still alive. From Hutto's body, the coroner collects 3 hairs believed to belong to someone other than the victim. A 4th unidentified hair is collected from Hutto's blue jeans. In the 1970s, little else can be done with the hair. It is packaged up and put into storage. In time, the Carol Hutto murder goes cold. In March of 1994, Officer Brad Hoyes is injured at a work accident and assigned a desk job. Hoyes pulls the Hutto evidence from storage and finds what he believes might be a lead in the form of the victim's personal diary.
So I open it up, and it begins about a month before her death.
A few pages into the diary, Carol Hutto writes about her secret romance with a classmate named Jimmy Kinn. Carol claims she is in love with Kinn and that they often meet by the lake where Hutto's body was found.
I finally got to a point where it said, I met Jimmy at the lake, and it just was too close to home. That's where her body was found. It was right next to the house that we believe the crime occurred in.
In 1976, Jimmy Kinn was questioned as a friend of Carol's and denied seeing or speaking to the victim on the night she was killed. 18 years later, cold case detectives notice a discrepancy between Kinn's statement and what the Hutto family originally told police.
When the investigator interviewed the Hutto family, they informed the investigator that on the night Carol went missing, she received a phone call from Jimmy Kinn. When Jimmy Kinn was asked about that in 1976, during his interview, he denied ever calling Carol on the night she went missing.
I answered the phone, and he said, Mrs. Hutto, this is Jim. Can I speak to Carol? And I said, yes, just a minute. And they talked for a little bit, and then they hung up, and shortly, maybe 15 minutes, he called again, and she told him she was leaving.
Cold case detectives believe they have caught Jimmy Kinn in a lie. Now they want to shake him up and see what else falls out. Jimmy Kinn works here as a petty officer on a Navy submarine. In July of 1994, Largo detective Mike Short visits the 11-year veteran to talk about an 18-year-old murder.
What I want to know is, were the two of you together that night? And was she okay when you left? That's what I want to know. Yes.
He admitted that he had been with Carol on the night she went missing. That was a significant admission. And we knew at that time we had our suspect.
Almost 20 years after the fact, Short believes he has identified Carol Hutto's killer. Proving it, however, is another matter altogether. In 1996, forensic DNA is beginning to make its presence felt in police labs across the country. Mike Short has several unknown hairs from the Hutto crime scene and wants to run genetic tests. What he lacks, however, is a sample of Jimmy Kinn's DNA. Detectives will need to secure Kinn's blood via a search warrant, and they decide to make the most of their time with the suspect.
If we're going to serve a search warrant on Jimmy Kinn, then use that opportunity for an interrogation as well.
Detective Short decides to bring in reinforcements in the form of the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or NCIS. The hope is that the Navy SHIELD might intimidate Kinn and push him into a confession. On July 15, 1998, Detective Short waits outside a police interrogation room. Inside, Navy criminal investigators Tom Asimos and Dave Early sit down with their murder suspect, Petty Officer Jim Kinn. After issuing the warrant and collecting a blood sample, Asimos and Early begin the hard talk.
It's simple, Jim. You're sorry or you did it intentionally. That's all I'm asking. I don't need... Jim, are you sorry you killed Carol? That's all I'm asking, Jim. You're sorry, aren't you? I can say you're sorry, Jim. That's all it's going to take.
We know that you didn't mean for this to happen, did you?
You didn't do this intentionally, did you? It was a mistake, right? You didn't plan it. Jim? It's a mistake, wasn't it, Jim? It's an accident. That's what we need to explain.
Brother, you just got to get it out.
Without a shred of physical evidence, NCIS agents are able to bring their murder suspect to his knees as he wipes away the tears and explains how he killed his girlfriend.
Okay.
It was an accident. The only reason I went to the lake was to try to cover it up.
I understand.
Send it somewhere else.
I understand, Jim. We understand that. How did she get hurt in the house?
We were playing around and started chasing each other. She tripped and fell.
Okay. What happened then?
She's unconscious. I didn't hear a heartbeat or anything. And I tried to cover it up like it was something else or somebody else.
What did you do then?
So when I took her clothes off,
Okay.
and I took her out by the lake.
What'd you do with her down by the lake?
Well, I put her in the water. I just put a bunch of rocks on top of her and then I took off.
Despite Jimmy Kinn's tears, cold case detectives believe he is still lying. The injuries to Carol Hutto's neck and head speak not to an accidental trip and fall, but to blunt force trauma and strangulation. James Kinn is charged with murder and eventually convicted.
On case number 98-12339, I do adjudicate Mr. Kinn guilty. I sentence him to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years.